So the software is never finished. And that means you have to maintain what you've built and you have to extend what you've built. And all of those concerns that you added to your code are going to make those operations very hard. So I've seen from experience a lot of code bases that get to a point, we call it tech debt, gets to a point of tech debt where you can't make any change and you're scared to make something because you add the feature, you break something else, and the code becomes really, it's almost like it remains in this state where it works, but we don't really know why it works. And when it doesn't work, we might have some ideas about why it doesn't work, but it's all a mess.
What do you see is missing? And I assume from your perspective, Effect.ts is going to fix that for you.
This could take a podcast on its own to discuss why JavaScript is broken. I think the async story of JavaScript has gone through different iteration cycles. It all started with callbacks, which we call in theoretical terms that CPS, continuation passing style. Continuation passing style was too hard on JavaScript people to understand, so we call it callbacks. But really, it's a model that goes back to the 60s and the 70s, where you don't program in terms of statements, you program in terms of function that ends up calling the continuation you pass in. That model is actually a model that unifies both synchronous computation and asynchronous computations, and it's a model where errors are typed. So we initially had, the first iteration of JavaScript, had a model that unified synchronous and asynchronous computation, and that had type errors. But then we introduced promises. We introduced async functions. And then we made some odd choices. First of all, promises don't type the error channel. So you don't really know what a promise can reject. The second thing is we made promises strictly asynchronous. So if you program in terms of promises, you program in an async way. Your sync code looks different from your async code. That's the problem of function coloring, which many other languages have taken inspiration from JavaScript and onboarded the problem on themselves. And we've seen iterations and iterations of programming languages make these kind of decisions.